What are you going to do? What are you going to do about that one friend you care about that you're not sure if you offended or not? What are you going to do about the war in Ukraine and how long that's going on for? Or for that matter, the war in the Middle East and how it's getting out of control? What are you going to do about that time you're at work and you made that presentation and you maybe thought you made an ass of yourself in front of your colleagues? What are you going to do about the bills you have to pay that are piling up and keeping you from affording things that you want? Well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about 3 ways to rethink anxiety from another perspective, perhaps one you haven't thought of before, to help reduce the effects of anxiety on you. As you're watching this, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and click like. Much appreciated. Welcome to Thinking and Being. I'm Jamie. I have a deep background in technology, process, and people, and the combinations in between them. And in this channel, we're going to talk about a lot of different things in life. We're going to talk about thinking, we're going to talk about being in real life experiences, and then we're going to talk about thinking about those experiences, reflections on those experiences, and maybe comparing the two, thus thinking and being. The main point of this channel is going to be talking about ways to process what's going on in the world around you. And we're going to talk about a lot of different topics. With every video, I hope that they are insightful and educational and interesting. So that one element. I also hope that they're entertaining and maybe a little bit funny. We're going to be informal here.
That's where I'm a Viking.
And also, these videos are going to be a little bit nostalgic. And so you'll see little pieces of that as well. So I hope you get that feeling from these videos. Today, we're going to talk about anxiety, a big problem in society. The reason I thought about this particular topic was every morning I get up pretty early. I try to start my day at a reasonable time. I go across the street to a coffee shop. Most of the time, there's an old lady there who recently lost her husband. And almost every day that she's there at the coffee shop, I get the download of what's going on in her world and the world around us. And she talks about things like family members who have cancer. She reminds me that her husband died. She talks about the war and the Middle East. All these things every day gives me the dreadful download of what's going on in her life. Now, I don't say that to say that I don't want to hear about those things, but I say that because clearly this woman is suffering from anxiety. The big issue with anxiety is that it can lead to unintended behaviors. It can cause sickness in our bodies. And even worse, it can cause things like suicidal thoughts. And we definitely don't want that. Planes, man. Airplanes. I got airplanes.
Do you know anything about planes?
Well, I flew in the war, but that was years ago. I wouldn't know anything about it.
So according to the World Health Organization, around 4% of people worldwide deal with anxiety, making it the most common mental illness. Approximately 1 in 3 adults will experience significant amounts of anxiety in their lifetime. According to a recent poll, 1 in 5 US adults have reported feeling significant feelings of anxiety in the past year. And given our recent current events, according to Google, the most that anxiety has been searched in the last 20 years was just last month, given some of the recent events around the election and some other things. So clearly, anxiety is a big problem in our world, and we should be addressing it. We should be thinking about it. In the days of cavemen, things were simple. It was really just about fight or flight. You thought about what you were going to eat to keep yourself alive, and maybe where you were going to go to get that food. But today, we don't have those kinds of problems. We have much, much worse, much more layered first world problems. So back in the caveman days, all they had to think about was what they were going to eat and maybe where they were going to go to find what they were going to eat on any given day while they're out enjoying nature and enjoying, this planet Earth that we live on. But today we have things like screens. We're more connected than ever, but also screens and social media and the things that we look at on these screens make us invariably less connected than ever. And that's a huge problem. So when we talk about caveman problems compared to today, first world problems are much worse in many ways and are add fuel to the fire for anxiety. Anxiety can affect our work, our relationships, how we function daily, and our overall quality of life. Things like social media, financial stress, fast paced lifestyles that we live, that are just, we constantly fill our schedules with things. Current events, all of these things add to anxiety and often make it worse. While effective treatments exist, things like therapy and maybe even meditation, which I'll talk about a little bit, a lot of people with anxiety aren't doing anything about it. And that could be the biggest problem with anxiety in our society. So that's why it's so important that maybe you can come away from this video with some ways to rethink anxiety and reduce its effects on you. The first way to rethink anxiety would be to understand what the act of worrying and anxiety is. And one of the ways that you can do it is putting that on the dimension of time. So if you think about an x-axis being time, and you are in the middle of that axis, and the things behind you are in the past, and the things in the future are in front of you. When we worry, we're either usually thinking about the past or we're thinking about things that might happen in the future. It's rare that we're thinking about things right in the moment. So let's take the past, for example. The farther that you look back into the past, the more things that there are that maybe you could have done differently. We can think about how we might have done something differently in the past and keep ruminating and thinking how we could have, should have done something or been involved in something or interacted with others in a certain way that adds to our anxiety. And so the farther back you go, the more you go back in time, the more events you have that you could possibly worry about. So the burden there is, if you go farther back in time, there's more variability in things that you could have done better or done differently or addressed in a different way or interacted a different way, and that builds up. So in a way, the more you look back into the past, the more burden you're carrying because there's more variability and uncertainty about things that you could have done in a different way. The same thing goes for the future. If you look farther and farther out into the future, there's more variability in the events ahead of you depending on the path that you choose. So that's another burden that you carry. You're carrying a burden that grows into the past, and you're carrying a burden that grows into the future. And so all that variability is what you are trying, and uncertainty is what you're trying to control and manage, and what you're ruminating about, and that contributes deeply, significantly to your anxiety. Let's think about existing principles that are related to things like Stoicism and Buddhism that emphasize the importance of not living in the past or not being stuck in the past or the future or both, with which I'm sure many of us are doing often, and why it's so important to stay centered on now.
Serenity now!
Because in the moment, right now, is the least amount of uncertainty and variability that you're going to have to deal with right now. And it's really hard for us to focus on right now. But in our first world problem society that we live in, we tend to get pulled back to the past or pulled ahead to the future and worry about those things in the past that we could have done different or what might be coming to us in the future. Another aspect of this way of rethinking anxiety is that you're not just worrying about one past or one future, you're worrying about multiple pasts and multiple futures because there's different things that could happen in a given past or in a given future. And so that's another aspect that is going to add to the burden that you carry around when you have anxiety. So when we think about the caveman was probably a lot better at staying in the now, staying in the moment, which is why that's so important, because the burden of anxiety that you carry in this exact moment is going to be the lowest of all.
Serenity now!
And in the moment, if you're not bleeding profusely, or you're not on fire, or the buildings around you on fire, then you're usually going to be just fine. Hey, wait 1 second. One of the things that I do in my videos is I take a moment to promote products that I really love and use often and that I want to share with you. And I'm not getting paid for this to promote these things. I just think it's good karma. It's nice to be able to share products that I think might be of use to you. So this video's product is brought to you by, not really, I'm not getting paid because I'm poor. That's okay though. Hoka shoes. Now these shoes are extremely dirty. That's okay. But what I love about Hoka, let me pick up a clean one, is that they have this special foam at the bottom of the shoe that you can squeeze with your fingers. And it's unlike any foam anywhere. This is why they're so popular. And yeah, a lot of white people like me like to wear them, especially white old people like me. So that's, of course I'm going to wear them. I wear them all the time. And shoes like this is a hiking shoe. They all have this nice soft foam, which is unbelievable. Now I had knee problems and lower back problems, and as soon as I started wearing these shoes, those problems went away. So if you have knee problems or back problems, I would suggest physical therapy, but I would also suggest while you're not in physical therapy to wear these shoes and walk around in these shoes. So I have a hiking pair that I use for hiking, but I also use this. I clean it up, wipe it up, make it look nice and clean. And I can actually wear this with a suit sometimes. So ever since COVID, people don't really wear suits anymore. But when you do, people wear sneakers with their suits, if you notice. And so Hoka is really nice to go with a suit. This hiking, it's mostly black. You can't really tell any detail, especially when the pant leg is coming down over the shoe. And it's very comfortable. So you have like a big conference where you have to be on your feet. It's a great product. And this extremely dirty one, this is the one I run in. Great shoe. This one's called the Clifton. And then this is the one I walk in. I have a shoe for walking. I think this one's called the Arahi, A-R-A-H-I. So Hoka shoes, just wanted to say that these are a great product, and I hope you found that interesting. I'll put a link below to Hoka in the description of the video, and I hope you take a look, and maybe you'll find something there that'll alleviate back pain or knee pain, or you'll find something that you just like to wear, because they come in really great colors. All right, back to the video. So the second way I want to talk about rethinking anxiety is I want to take you back to a few years ago when my father was dying of cancer. Now he passed away quite a while ago, but I was going through that while I was getting my PhD. So one day I had met with my PhD advisor, who we were talking about something that I had missed recently, which was part of the curriculum for me to stay on the path of getting my PhD. And what I said was, my father's terminally ill. He has cancer, and the outlook is not good. And so I've been dealing with that. And at the time, it's taken me some time to process what he said. But what he said stuck with me all the way to this point. This was well over a decade ago. And what he said was, well, you can't worry about the things you can't control. And at the time, I was like, "Thanks, bro. What kind of argument is that? Coming from this engineer, you know, uh, INTJ Myers Briggs personality type who doesn't know how to have a sensitive conversation." But and I reacted well to that in the moment. But I thought about it more and more over time, and I thought, well, maybe this is another way to think about anxiety itself. If I can't control something, why should I worry about it? There's a lot of things that we just cannot control in the world around us, especially other people. We can't control other people, which brings me back to the first way of rethinking anxiety. Not only do you want to avoid carrying the burden of all your pasts and all your futures ahead of you, but you don't want to carry the burden of other people's pasts and other people's futures. And you may be carrying the burden of multiple people. So this compounds anxiety immensely and maybe non-linearly increasing the burden of anxiety on you. Just think of it this way. Do you control it? If not, then do your best not to worry about it. Because at the end of the day, there's not much you can do. Hey, one other thing. One of the other things I do in my videos that is slightly unusual is that I promote other YouTube videos because I would not be where I am or even trying this if it wasn't for other YouTube videos and creators motivating me, inspiring me to do this, what I'm doing. So the YouTube channel that I want to promote today is called Oompaville, Oompaville. Oompaville is a great guy. It's a dude, younger millennial generation who comments on current events mostly. A few of his videos are about interesting things that happened in the past, but at the end of the day, his videos are great because they're great storytelling videos. I love Oompaville because he's authentic, he's funny, he doesn't take himself seriously, but he gets through content and he talks about content in a really objective but also interesting way. And so I've been inspired by him immensely. So I just want to make you aware of that. I'm going to put a link to his YouTube in the description below of this video, and I think you'll enjoy his content. My favorite video of his is his rundown of the history of how Conan O'Brien was screwed by big networks, including NBC, over the course of the last 20 or 30 years. And that video was done. That's probably one of his best videos because basically it's a documentary of or a collection of compendium of late night comedy over the last 40 years. It's done really well. So I love comedy. I especially love late night comedy because I grew up with that. And he does a great job explaining the whole story and how Conan O'Brien got screwed over multiple times. it's, so it's a good story, and I really enjoyed it. Oompaville, check out the link below. Thanks. So the third way I want to rethink anxiety for you to reduce its effects on you is to think about the fact that how you react to anything in life is a choice. I always go back to this one, and it refers to really all emotions that you might have or reactions that you might have to stimuli in our world. It refers to anger, laughter, sadness, depression, and anxiety. When it comes to anxiety, a lot of people tend towards anxiety, that feeling of anxiety of being worried, because it's probably because it's a safe and familiar feeling, something that you're used to doing as a reaction to the world around you. But again, it's still a choice. Marcus Aurelius, who is a great Stoic thought leader, once said, if you're distressed by anything external in your life, it's not usually the thing itself that's causing you distress. It's really your estimate of that thing. So, this third way of rethinking anxiety is pretty simple. It's really just about choosing to react, choosing to think another way. And I would challenge yourself to do the opposite of what you would normally do when you react to something. There's also an author who is a Nobel Prize winning economist and psychologist by the name of Daniel Kahneman, who did extensive research with others on the ideas of System 1 and System 2 thinking. And this is probably something I'll do a video on, or at least mention in multiple videos in the future, because I think it's pretty fascinating. But different parts of the brain react differently to different stimuli in the world. System 1 thinking is very reactive, and it's just seat of the pants, what's going on, and you just react. System 2 takes time, takes logic, takes reason, often takes data, and looks at something and says, okay, here's how I really see it, and does it with more thought and intention in reacting to something out there. So system 1 is that sort of lizard brain reaction that you might have, and system 2 is just stepping back and really thinking and taking a look at something and really assessing whether it's something to worry about. So that's something we often do too. We revert to that system 1 thinking, and that kind of reaction increases our anxiety. But again, if we can hold off and have some more system 2 thinking, take some time with it, and really think about how we want to react to what's going on in the world around us, then more and more that becomes a choice and not just a reaction. Recapping the third way to think about anxiety: if you're having anxious thoughts, just choose to think another way, hopefully a more positive way. Something else that Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic thought leader, once said was, happiness is due to the quality of your thoughts. Your thoughts control how you are in this world. It all comes from there and emanates out. And we'll talk about that maybe in the future. But that's what it comes down to. So the three ways of rethinking anxiety is focusing on being in the now. Second, don't worry about the things you can't control. Third, make the choice to think about things another way, because how you think about things and how you react to things is 100% your choice. So there are 5 quick things I want to tell you that I think would be really helpful in reducing your anxiety as well. It's not really about how to think about anxiety, but it's just things that you can do to make sure that anxiety doesn't happen in your world. So the first thing is eat mostly a healthy and plant-based diet. Nutrition, if you think about your body as things going in, things going out, nutrition is one of the main things going in, other than oxygen and maybe radiation from the sun. Nutrition drives how you feel. Eat a healthy diet. Second, get at least 8 hours of sleep. Sleep is a magical thing. Again, something that is probably worth a video in the future. But sleep is a magical thing that repairs your body. It's a natural way of healing. And if you don't spend the time to heal, you're going to have anxiety. Over time, as you lose more and more and more sleep, that will build up and present itself in your life as anxiety. Okay, the third way, can I do 3? The third way to fight anxiety is do things almost every day, 5 or 6 days a week, that make you sweat. Now, this is not about fitness. This is not about lifting weights. This is not about being on the cover of a magazine. This is not even about looking good. I'm not sure it's about feeling good, but science shows fitness is a way for you to control your heart such that in the future, your heart is not controlling you, which is often the case when it comes to anxiety. And a lot of you are sitting there watching this and thinking, I can't remember the last time I made myself sweat. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm not going to prescribe a fitness program, but you have to sweat, and this will help reduce anxiety in your life. The fourth way is to be out in nature. Like I said, going back to our caveman friend or woman, they spent a lot of time in nature. And as humans, we should too. It helps us be grounded, get back to where we came from, understand our place on this earth. And scientific studies show that when you're around a lot of green, you just become more calm. You just become also more happy. So spend time in nature. And the important distinction for that one is when you're out in nature, no distractions. So no phones, no screens, no distractions, just you and nature, and maybe a pet if you got one. The last way I'm going to talk about that's going to really help reduce anxiety in your life is meditation. And I know you hear it all the time. You gotta meditate, you gotta meditate. The thing about meditation is it allows you to be okay with your own thoughts. And like I said before, your thoughts drive your reality. Your thoughts drive anxiety, or the opposite of anxiety, should you choose the opposite of anxiety. But your thoughts are so important, and maintaining your thoughts is so important. That's why meditation is important. And it is the hardest thing to do. I can say that I am not good at it. I will either get distracted or fall asleep or get too comfortable, or there'll be, I'll want to listen to music or I'll need music every time. But it should be practiced. Take time, roughly a half hour, 20 minutes every day, to practice meditation. You're not going to get it on the first try, but you must practice being with yourself, being with your thoughts, watching your thoughts come and go, and being in a quiet place with your mind. Because when you can be okay with yourself and okay with your thoughts, that's going to significantly reduce anxiety. Okay, so that's some ways to rethink anxiety and 5 ways to really reduce it in your life. I want you to stay tuned for other topics. We're going to talk about some crazy things. We're going to talk about psychology, the brain, consciousness, behavioral science, physics, maybe even some quantum physics, maybe the interrelationships between all of those things. Well, we're going to talk about some interesting things on this channel, and I hope you stay tuned for those. As I said, my goal is to make these videos insightful, educational, and interesting, but also funny and entertaining, and also maybe a little bit nostalgic. So I'll try to add elements of that as well. If you like what you saw today, please go ahead and hit the like so that helps more people see things like this. If you really like what you saw, go ahead and click subscribe. I would really appreciate it. That helps the channel grow. And with that, I want to say thanks for watching, and do not go gentle into that good night. Peace.